Welcome to From Beyond with your host, Glenn Boddice. Join me as we explore spirituality, self-help, and channeling spirits. Hello and welcome to From Beyond with your host, Glenn Boddice, spiritual medium. Thank you for tuning in for another deep dive conversation in this episode. As in this episode, we're going to be discussing the topic of channeling on an investigation. Also in this week's episode, we have the channeling from the world of spirit, which sees me becoming a vessel for spirit to bring their wisdoms and communications forward. And then later on in the show, we have a sneaky peek into this week's energy forecast reading. So hold on tight, everyone, as we dive deep, as I say in this week's episode, channeling on an investigation. So first of all, I'm talking about channeling. I'm talking about trance, where a sensitive or a highly trained professional medium allows themselves to become a vessel for a spirit communicator to blend their frequencies and use them in order to convey their story and their message. So that's what we're talking about. And obviously, an investigation, I'm talking about a paranormal investigation where you go to a said location, building or residence where it is known and it is reported and it has evidence to have paranormal activity. So we're going to dive deep into this. And first of all, I want to share with you that this has been happening to me more frequently in current times on investigations. And it's getting to the stage now where I kind of accept it, but also I trust. And I'll talk to you a little bit about the process in a moment. But so with it being quite at the foreground in investigations that I've been doing in recent times, I thought it needed a discussion about it, because I find it fascinating, trance mediumship and the way that spirit can manipulate and operate even through us as vessels. And something that I always do if I'm on a paranormal event or investigation, I generally feel into the vibration, the energy of that location. Obviously, I'm using the mediumship to do that and also to sense what is there in the building, get an understanding of the history of the building, feel into the energies, using also psychometry to place the hands on the objects within the building or even on the walls of the building, just to get the feel. And if it's a very nice energy, shall we say, very comfortable, very welcoming energy, playful, you may say, then I will ask my guides on that level, and I will say, would you like me to do trance mediumship? Would you like me to become a vessel in this location? And I ask them, and I trust them implicitly, and I wait for their answer. They'll either say yes or no. Sometimes when they say no, I'm like, I wanted to do it. But obviously they see the greater perception and they understand what will work, what won't work, what energies will blend, what energies will affect me as a vessel, and what energies would try to manipulate in order to come through. So I trust my guides, and I always start that if I am asked or required to go into trance, I'll ask them first. In order to do trance mediumship, first of all, you need to have a good grounding, a good understanding of the practice of mediumship. I would certainly suggest that you also have an understanding of the chakra system, of the auric field, and a discipline of meditation as well. It's very important that, and also have a discipline of working with spirit and then learning to close down, open up and close down. Obviously, we are always open. We're always there. We're always connected. We're connected to energy and spirit. But in my experience, over the years, having this discipline of opening up and closing down, it's a little bit like a shopkeeper putting the open up sign when he's open for business and closing when he's closed for business. And I know that sounds very obvious of me to put it that way, but sometimes it needs to be put that way. And the reason for doing it is to let Spirit know that this is obviously the time we'll be working together, and we're going to have our full attention. We're going to have our full connection. And then obviously outside of that, when you close down the time, that is your time as an individual to learn, to grow, to develop, and to make decisions and move through your life. Obviously, your guides are always with you and you can tap in at any time, but it just sets that stall out there, that discipline. And it's good to have all of those understandings before you begin to even consider expanding your mediumship into trance mediumship. But when you've made that decision, it takes time. It's not something that can happen overnight. You build, you grow, you learn as you develop, and you get to understand energies and how they build up and how they can be used in order for spirit beings to come forward and hold their vibration in our dimension and use us as a vehicle, as a vessel to communicate through us. Now, what was said to me by a spirit lady who came to visit my property, and she was actually stood on my stairs. I've probably mentioned this before in an episode. It was said she was excited. She'd come down for the first time. She'd seen the light. She'd seen the portal at the top of my stairs and wasn't really familiar where this portal was going to lead, but she was encouraged to come and have a go. And when she did, she ended up on my stairs in my property. We picked up, I say we, because my daughter initially was aware of something on the stairs, and she says, "Dad, I think you need to come here, and there's something on the stairs." And so I did. And this is when I had that open conversation with that spirit lady. And I was questioning her name and where she's from, why she's here. And this is how I got this information that I'm sharing with you now. And I asked her, what is it like? Seeing as this is your first time coming into this dimension through the portal, what is it like for you? And she began to describe, using the analogy, she says it's very similar in your world, in the earth world, obviously. If you were to go to the bottom of the swimming pool, whilst it's full of water, obviously, and try and walk on the bottom of the swimming pool without coming up to the surface and walking across there. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's very interesting, because as you can imagine, your natural response is that you will float up to the surface. And so to resist that, to float up to the surface, takes a great deal of concentration and energy and focus in order to do that. And she said for her, the experience was very much like that. So this lets you look at the world of spirit in a different way. It does for me anyway, because the amount of energy and effort that it must take them in order to, again, sustain their vibration in our dimension, and particularly if they're coming through in the form of trance through a physical body, which they haven't occupied for who knows how long. So to get used to that and to hold their frequency in this dimension is quite a mean feat for any soul. So you've got to show that love and respect at all times. With this being said, there is a degree of preparation for the medium, for the sensitive, that is considering going into trance on an investigation. For me personally, what I do is I like to prepare, obviously. I like to set intentions of what I will and what I won't accept, what I'd like to experience, what I wouldn't like to experience. And I set those parameters very strongly there. And I find that speaking out aloud amplifies that intention and that vibration, and it allows it to hold that energy that you are intending to. I also find that meditation is a wonderful practice to get into because it quietens the mind. We've all had it where our mind's running around in circles and we've got all these ideas in our head and we're thinking about the shopping that we need to buy and all of this nonsense rushing around our head. Well, meditation, with practice, it doesn't come overnight. It slows that thought process down. It allows you just to be the observer, relax into it, and go into that energy field where you're very much comfortable with just letting go and surrendering and being in that vibration. Also, protecting the vibration. Now, I do this by, again, it's a combination of setting intentions. I ask personally for Archangel Michael and the Band of Mercy, and also with trance mediumship, you have to have a gatekeeper, which is above your spirit guide. And I use the analogy of the gatekeeper as very similar to an antivirus software on a computer. It will only allow what it considers is going to be of value to that vessel or that computer. Anything that is a potential threat, it will not allow it to come through. So I set all those parameters, and protection also I use various balls of light, colored light with intention. I think I've mentioned this on previous episodes, so I'm not going to go into the depth and detail of that, but this is part of my ritual before I even go to the location. And again, when I'm at the location, I'm not always aware that I'm going to be doing trance. I'm not always told ahead of the session. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. But what I do is, using the mediumship in that location, I'm feeling into the vibrations of that energy. I'm connecting in with those spirit individuals that are there and having some dialogue, hearing their story. I'm also feeling into that old energy going back through decades of timelines. I'm using psychometry to hold on to items, to put my hands onto the building, onto the wall, and feel into the energy. And only, I would say, probably halfway through the evening, what I've noticed is I get familiar with the energy. And at that point, if the conditions are right, if the energy is building up, if there is a need for direct communication within that investigation, then I will ask my guides, as I said earlier, okay, it feels good in here. I'm feeling the energy building up. Is it safe to do trance? Would you like me to do trance? And then they will have a conversation with themselves, my guides, and then they will come back to me with an answer. And I respect their answer because obviously they can see the bigger picture from all sides of the coin there. And I trust them implicitly. So only upon their say-so of going ahead will I then proceed to go into trance. And it's not something where I just drop down, right, I'm doing trance. No, there have to be other safety measures thought of before you do that. One of the things is, if you're in a trusted environment with colleagues that you've worked with before, or people that you really respect and trust, and you have them around you, if you have that kind of environment around you, then you're halfway there to actually going into trance. But what I would say, as a medium, as a sensitive, you should be giving them a little bit of guidance before you allow yourself to go into this trance state, such as you're wanting to explain to them, this is what happens when I go into trance. Allow me X amount of time. So you've got them looking at their watch, monitoring how long you've been in trance, and also you're getting them to look at your your perception, your body language, your vibration, as well as your in trance state. Also, you're wanting somebody to be asking questions to the communicator that is coming through, and to encourage this communicator to blend and come through and to be respectful. So you need somebody within that group of people to do that. And like I say, they've got to be trusted individuals. You've got to feel safe with them prior to going into trance, because it is very sensitive work, as I'm sure many of you will appreciate and understand. So once you have that, then you're wanting them to ask questions, get that dialogue going with the communicator that's coming through. Always ask for their name, get their age, get as much evidence about the communicator as you can, their connection to the building. Why are they here? Why do they choose to come through? Can you give me some information of how things looked when you were here? Are there any other spirits here? Can you describe them to us? Can you describe yourself, how you look? Well, the list can go on with a series of questions, but get somebody that is very inquisitive and likes to extract information on a paranormal investigation. And what you do is, obviously, you go into trance. I'm not going to go through the procedure on here because it is a very, very, very subtle. I will tell you how it feels in a moment, though. But yes, get them to ask the questions. And then when they observe, they feel the time that you've allotted for spirit to come through has been reached, you get them to call you back into your body. And you get them to be very stern, even shout if necessary to call you back, because sometimes you can be that deep that you're not aware where you're at. And so, call them out. What I would suggest is that you don't shake the medium in trance. This could have terrible repercussions to the medium mentally, physically, energetically, emotionally. So avoid doing that. What I would say, if the trance mediumship, after you've shouted them and you've called them forward, again, respectfully, I'd like to call whoever to come forward now, come back into the body, raise your voice like that, be a little bit stern. If you're noticing that that's not getting them back in straight away, just gently place one of your hands on their shoulder, okay? Not firmly, just gently place it, and your vibration alone with the words, with the encouragement, will bring that person back into their own physical body. And when they are back into the body there, that's where you have to do a little bit of maintenance if they're all right. Make sure that they're opening their eyes, get them to breathe deep breaths, get them to move their fingers, their toes, get them to move their neck, their shoulders, get that blood flowing around the physical body, and get them to look around their surroundings there, look at the colours, look at the textures in that environment, listen to the sounds, get them to look at you in the face and say, can you hear me? Are you all right? Look at them dead in the eye. Are you okay? Are you coming back? You're coming back. And then give them some water. And if necessary, if they're still a little bit woozy, then help them up onto their feet after they've drunk their water and take them out of that environment, whether this is into a different room or whether this is outside of the premises there, but be with them at all times. And this will enable them to, again, come back into body, to be present, to be grounded, and just to familiarize themselves being back in their own physical body. What I will say, from a medium's point of view, when they go into trance, speaking personally, for me, it's a rather strange experience. It feels like, I would say, that you're very relaxed. It's almost like a meditation. You're very relaxed. The big word is surrender for me. So it's about relaxing, surrendering, And at that moment, I feel a little bit of a divide, a little bit of a split with my soul, with my essence, with my being, stepping aside from my physical body. And it feels weird because who I am, the essence, the truth of who I am, it feels like I'm either sat at the side of where I'm initially located in my physical body. And it's really bizarre to describe, but it just feels like I'm sat in a different area. I'm not sat in that seat anymore. And where I am is in this really calm, relaxed state of being where I'm receiving some healing, some protection, some guidance, and I'm just really comfortable, really relaxed. And what can I say? I'm not hearing anything in particular. I'm just really relaxed. My essence has left my physical body. Now, when a spirit communicator does come through, I say obviously, but I'm still connected to my physical body by the silver cord, which is attached to your navel. And this is what keeps your soul connected to the physical body as you're on the earth plane. When we go into trance, we just step aside out of the physical body, but you're still connected to it. And so I'm familiar at that moment in time when there's a spirit overlaying me, my physical body. I can feel that energy building up, that presence, and I can feel it getting stronger and stronger and stronger as they manipulate and use the energies that are available to them in order to sustain their vibration in this dimension in my physical body. And what I usually find is, although I'm in my safe space, that comfortable space, and I'm outside of my body, my essence, my soul is, I can still feel some mannerisms and some movement and some energy connected with the physical body. And I feel the energy building up in my throat area. It kind of comes up from the solar plexus, builds up in the throat where it feels like there's a knot, like a lump in your throat. And at that point, the communicator will then utilize this energy and will utilize me as a vessel and the breathing. And with the breath work, with the breath that's breathed out, the longest, the last breath, shall we say, it uses that in order to carry their essence, and it speaks through. It manipulates my vocal cords, my vocal box. And from what I've observed, and probably you've observed with listening to these episodes, that my voice does change. They manipulate the vocals in order to bring something either exactly like their essence or as near as their authentic vibration. And then they begin to talk. Now, from my perception, obviously, like I say, I'm still connected to the physical body with a silver cord, but I'm hearing, I don't know if anybody's familiar with the TV show cartoon called Charlie Brown. And when he was at school and there was teachers in the room, you could never hear what they were saying. You just heard a... Now for me, for my soul, for my essence, that's all I'm observing. I can just hear this tone, this... but I'm not familiar with what is being said or any information that's being shared. It's just... So... it's a very unusual experience, but I would say surrender is the key. And obviously it takes a lot of trust, lots of years of practice to build up to that. So again, it's not something that you can kind of do overnight. It's something that is built up over time with most things that we do in life. But that's how it feels for me. And to give you a description what it feels like to come back into body after a trance session, it's very peculiar because all of a sudden I've been in this, my soul has been in this very comfortable space, feeling light, feeling energized, feeling calm and relaxed. And the next minute I feel this heaviness, this deep heaviness as my soul comes back into my physical body. And my body feels like lead. It feels very stiff. I'm having issues trying to move it. To me, it feels very alien when I come back into body. And so with encouragement from those around you, you're getting the blood flow, you're getting your soul back into body, you're moving your fingers, your toes, you're moving your arms, and you're getting that circulation back. Do it slowly, because like I say, it feels very heavy, very stiff, and it just feels very alien to you when you do come back into body. And you're aware you can hear your colleague's voice calling you back. And sometimes it's difficult when they instruct you to open your eyes, come back into the room, and you open your eyes and your eyelids feel so heavy, and you're trying your best to open your eyes. It's almost as if you've been in a deep sleep, and it takes so much effort to do that. But when you do, and you look around your surroundings, what always amazes me is when I open my eyes and I get my bearings where I'm sat, and I get the feeling that's strange, because I'm sure I was sat over there, either to the left, to the right of me, or behind me. And so to be sat where I am, it is kind of disorientating. Obviously, my soul's come out of body, and that's what I'm experiencing. So at that point, I'll take a drink of water. I'll obviously hydrate myself, and water contains lots of energy, so I'm energizing myself, and I'll slowly, gradually come back into the physical body. And usually colleagues will say, "You all right, Glenn?" And it may take me a while to say, "Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, hang on a minute. Yeah. And then I start to come back. Something I do use, a bit of a tool, and I also tell my students to do this as well, is have a grounding stone. And this is a particular crystal or stone that you've been aligned to choose and pick up, and you've programmed it to have that specific purpose when you're holding it. And what this will do is it will bring your soul, your essence, back into your physical body a lot quicker when you hold it in your hands. And it just allows you to come back to ground, to be present, because sometimes it can take a while to come back, and the stone, the energy and the intention within the stone will help you come back into physical body. So that's my experience. That's how it feels as a medium when I'm doing trance mediumship. And like I say, your soul and your essence has literally stepped aside from your physical body. And as it moves out, the spirit communicator has to blend their energy into your vessel. So, I mean, I don't know the full experience from a spirit's perspective. I'm only going on what was said to me by the lady that I've mentioned before in spirit, that said it's like trying to hold your breath underwater and walk at the bottom of a swimming pool. So it must take a great deal of effort to hold their energy. And usually, excuse me, they'll use the energy within the collective of the group and the room as well. So your colleagues may feel a little bit drained, a little bit tired after the trance mediumship session. So I'd always encourage for you to get everybody to make sure they're well hydrated, they're all grounded, they're all aware of where they are, their surroundings, and also have a snack with you, whether it's a bit of chocolate or an apple or something. And that will generally pull your vibrations back down and ground and anchor you. So whether you're feeling that as a medium doing the trance or your colleagues are around you, that will get you back into body and into your present moment. I also mentioned getting outside. So a little bit of fresh air always livens you up, doesn't it, as well? And obviously, if it's a little bit colder outdoors, that will snap you back into your physical body. So that is a good technique to use. And that's not just for the trance medium, but also, as I say, for the colleagues as well. Getting a conversation flowing, talking about something different other than what you've just done, can also bring you back into body and get you out of that daydream type state. So it's good to have these tools at hand in order to for you to come back if you're the trance medium, and also your colleagues that have helped there. Now, I'd like to share with you some of the experience I've had doing channeling on investigations. One of them was quite interesting. It was at an old, I want to call it an Edwardian school that has since changed its usage and is more in alignment with business and room hire, that sort of a venue it is now. But at one time it was a school. And so, again, what I've described to you earlier, I had a conversation with my team, my guide, is it safe? I'm feeling good vibrations here. I'm feeling the urge to do trance, and I'm feeling communicators stepping forward, wanting to come forward. And only on their express permission did I do this. And so I did it in this old Edwardian school. Again, I can't remember what came through as I described to you. For me, as a medium, it just sounds like brr, 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 brr. I can't hear any details or information. But what was said by a few people that were there witnessing it and obviously helping me with that experience, they briefed me on the information that came forward, and they found it very fascinating, very interesting. And there was a lot of ticks in terms of evidential information coming through in that trance communication. So that was one of the venues I did. Another one was on an investigation. And this was at an old Victorian swimming baths. Completely unexpected. I was delivering a piece to members there, and I was telling them what I was feeling, what I was picking up, and I was getting all this information, just delivering it. The next minute, I felt really sleepy, and then my voice began to change. I was stood up at this point. I had no intention of doing trance, but it was an overlay that came in, that stepped in and started to speak through me and delivered all this information to the onlookers. And they were, for one, gobsmacked, surprised, a little bit, ooh, this is weird, because no one knew it was going to happen. But luckily enough, one of my colleagues came in, and I'd been in this state for probably around 5 or 10 minutes, and they overheard, and they came in and they brought me back into body. So that was quite a shock and a surprise for me to do that. So I've made more provisions with my vibration ahead of some of the investigations. But that was a fascinating one. And one of the recent ones I did, again, this was done with intention. This was done with permission from my guides. And this was at an old theatre in Wales. And this was very interesting. Again, I didn't hear the information that was coming through, but there was very trusting colleagues around me there that was asking questions, getting some responses, and from the information that did come forward, they found it very interesting. And also from what I was told upon coming out of trance, that the communicator mentioned about a portal, a vortex in that surrounding area. So upon coming back into physical body, myself and another medium in the group, we investigated the area that was said to have a portal by this communicator. And as sure as eggs are eggs, there was a portal there, and we did feel the energy shifts. And we were told through this trance communication that various souls use this as an entry and exit point to come in visitation into that location, into that theatre, to embrace its energy and reminisce and just enjoy its vibration. So that was fascinating. So there's just to name a few that's happened over a short space of time. I always find it fascinating that they take the opportunity to come forward. Obviously, you can use lots of paranormal technology in order to extract information out the ether and encourage spirit beings to utilize the equipment in order to bring forward information, which is amazing. And it's amazing evidential information when you do get that. But for me, I'm going to be a little bit biased on this, being a medium and a sensitive. But for me, I feel that, going into trance and allowing a communicator to come forward is is I just love it. I love it because people can have that direct conversation and get the information and the energy that it brings into the environment is, I can't begin to describe it. It seems to do something to the atmosphere. So it's something that you can use alongside, obviously, all of your paranormal technical equipment. And it will assist and add to your evening and your paranormal investigation or event. It's something that, again, I wouldn't say to everybody, oh, you need to do trance. No, it is something that takes time. I wouldn't certainly encourage people to just go on an investigation and go into trance. Oh, no. You've got to have that discipline, that respect, learn the craft, have that connection with your spirit team, have that discipline. And when it's right, the time is right for you to do it, your guides will encourage you and they'll let you know it is safe to do it when all the conditions are right and are met. So I hope this little conversation today has given you something to think about of the world of spirit, the weird and wonderful world of spirit. I say weird, but really to myself and a lot of my colleagues, it's very much normal. It's the norm, but we get very, very excited. We like hearing it. We like witnessing the evidence and it coming forward. And in many respects, I know it's labeled paranormal, but for us, it's just normal. That's crazy, isn't it, to think that, I know. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this piece. I hope everybody is doing well. I just thought I'd take the opportunity to check in with you all and share some of my observations I've noticed recently. It's almost as if on paper, shall we say, or via our observations, that everything seems to be going haywire at the moment, doesn't it? All around us. I don't want to speak negative, of course I don't, but I'm just sharing my observations. And yet on paper, it looks all chaotic. And how's it all going to add up? How's this going to work? Financially, how's that going to work? How's the bills going to get paid? And we've got all of that information around us. And again, I don't want to speak negative, but what I do want to share with you, my observations are, despite all of that, there's a feeling and an overtone that's overlaying me at the moment is like, that's all right. Everything's going to be perfectly all right. You're going to be all right. Don't panic. Don't worry. Chill out. Just enjoy the show. You'll be fine. Don't worry. And I've got that feeling, that energy around me over the last few weeks, actually. And as we're moving closer to November, despite all of these things funneling in and increasing with their intensity, I've still got that feeling, that vibration, and almost you could say I've got my blinkers on in many respects, that I'm aware that it's there, but I'm not investing my time and energy into all of that chaos. Instead, I'm just, everything feels great. Yeah, we'll sort this out. I'll get what I need. We'll do this. We'll do that. It's a weird feeling. That's the best way I can describe it to you at the moment. But I just wanted to check in with you all and ask you the question. Is it just me that's experiencing this? Are you feeling this? Are you observing all of the so-called chaos and the changes that are happening around most of us? And yet you're like fixed in your own lane and you feel comfortable and you know that things are going to work out perfectly as they're meant to. It's a strange one, isn't it? Strange times that we're all living in. But I am a great believer that our spirit guides, our family and our friends and loved ones in the world of spirit are continually around us, giving us that optimism, that enthusiasm, that drive, that passion, helping us move forward through the so-called perceptions of this quite negative, as most people would perceive, experience that's happening on planet Earth. So I feel very blessed to feel their energy and their presence. And I'm sure a lot of you listening to this are sensing your guides, your loved ones around you, and you're feeling that inspiration coming in to help you move beyond these so-called perceptions. Anyway, we're going to move into the next segment of the show, which is this week's channeling from Spirit. So sit back, relax, take a few notes if you wish to do so, and enjoy the channeling.
Isn't it marvelous the way that we can all communicate with one another through either telepathy, thought, email, whether that be messages or phone conversations or in person? We find it absolutely incredible. And we want to talk to you about another way that you can communicate on a stronger level, more stronger than you can ever imagine, and that is, we've already mentioned it, telepathy, thought vibration. Vibration, as you know, it's all energy, it's all information. A bit similar to the internet, it's all information, it's out there. And as we've said before, you are all transmitters and receivers of information. So we want to tell you about the technology that's been around for eons of time, but has been slowly drummed out of you, and that is the thought vibration. So it will pay you to be mindful of your thoughts, to be more productive with your thoughts instead of allowing your brain to noodle over rubbish and inconsequential information that makes no sense or no benefit for anyone. Instead, we want you to use this magnificent power that you have within you to communicate exactly how you're feeling and also what you're thinking and your thoughts. We want you to communicate them and deliver those packets of information through the vibration of thought and thinking. And the way that you do this is by, first of all, by policing your thoughts, only having the most purest of intentions when you're wanting to communicate with an individual through the vibration of thought energy. What we would describe this process as is similar to when you would want to send somebody a message. You would get their vibration, wouldn't you? You type in their address or their phone number or their profile. Well, it's very similar technique, except this time we want you to think of that person, visualize them in your mind's eye, hold their frequency in your heart, and think of them and hold that vibration. And then when you have that link and that vibration, it's on this level that you send that thought message vibration to them. And the way that you do that is you think of the information you want to exchange to them, and then you simply release it out into the ether. And what you will find when you do release this thought out into the ether, particularly when you're more conscious about doing it, is you'll feel this lightness at the top of your head, your crown chakra. You'll feel this lightness being emitted out of the top of your crown chakra. And it will feel very contented as you do that. You'll feel very contented in the fact that you've felt this release by letting that thought go, and know that it's going to be sent to the sender as you are focusing and holding that link with the sender. And then simply allow it to go. And just watch this space. Watch yourself having thoughts about that individual, the most random times of the day, and then an alternative thought being sent back to you. Or you may experience a feeling in your heart and emotions. And then again you will be thinking of that person that you initially sent that information to. You'll get an image of them, a feeling of their presence around you, even though in the physical sense of the terms, they are simply not there. But their vibrational link, however, has made that connection with you, just as you have with them. So this is an unspoken technology that's been pushed behind, and we would like to encourage you to maybe take the opportunity to be very mindful but also playful with this technology so that you can get used to using it again. Because there will come a time when the technologies that you rely upon will have glitches, will have issues, will won't be as stable as what you may consider them to be, and the way that you've relied on them so heavily over these past 10 years or so. So we want to get you back into using this technology. There's many tribes, there's many civilizations that have used this technology all over the globe, all over the world for many, many, many years. And yes, technologies and informations have been exchanged also. This would also add to the energy grid around the world. When you align with certain ley lines and you make that connection, it helps this level of telepathy also to travel far and wide and be more directable to where it is intended to be. Also, sacred sites were used in this manner as well to bring forward and send and receive information on this level. So it's been used for a nation technology that's been used for many, many years, and we would like you to get used to using it. In fact, there's a lot of what you would describe as intergalactic or alien races that use this form of technology to make their communications known and felt. They do not have the apparatus such as vocal cords or mouths in order to communicate like you take for granted. So instead they use the thought vibration, and they use this technology we're describing to send the thought to whoever they wish to communicate with, holding their link, holding their vibration in their presence, and then sending that information over. It's a very commonly used technology throughout the spiritual world. As you know, when your family or loved ones in the world of spirit are drawing close to you, many of you have experienced having a repetitive song in your mind for quite a period of time, and you can't understand why. You haven't heard that song for absolutely years yourself, and yet it's playing in your head as clear as the day that you heard it. And we say that this is the ability of telepathy, the fact that your loved ones are sending you a message to you in this form, and it's your responsibility to acknowledge that message by unpicking it, understanding it more. Also, a lot of you have experienced thinking of a loved one in spirit at a certain random moment in your life. Why do you think that you're thinking that way in that random moment? There's no such thing as coincidences. This is simply your loved ones working on your thought vibration and sending that link and that communication to you to let you know that they are in your auric field, they're in your vicinity, bringing their love and healing, and they want you to know that they're safe and also that you are safe, as this is their message. So you see, this technology is being used all the time, and yet you banned it as a coincidence. Oh, that's a coincidence. I was only thinking about you yesterday. Oh, I was thinking about you yesterday as well. Well, this is that technology we're describing. So our message to you today is to give it some thought, give it some time, give it some attention, and with continued usage and practice, you too will be proficient once more in using this level of technology to make your communications heard, felt, and seen on a deeper level than anything you've ever encountered before in your life. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. I'm going to pass you over to another communicator who wishes to share some more wisdom with you. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye for now.
What a fantastic communication there from the world of spirit. And I absolutely adored the topic that they were speaking of, communication and the importance of communicating, not only to this side of the plane, but also to those in the world of spirit. and using an age-old technology that we all have the ability to do on some level, and this is telepathy, using our thoughts, the thought vibration, in order to send and receive information. And I like the way that they gave some tips and advice how to go about doing this and get familiarized with using this form of so-called technology. And one of those ways is to be mindful of the mind, be the third party, and clear out all of that nonsense, the thoughts that don't really carry any weight or are relevant to you, or just clogging up your mind. Just, I suppose in a way, it's like when we chew chewing gum, it's not giving us sustenance, but it's kind of tricking the stomach to think that it's being fed. It's like that with some of the nonsense thoughts that we have, isn't it? And they're just clouding up the brain, making the brain work, thinking it's got jobs to do, but in actual fact, it's not doing anything of value as such. But it was nice to hear the techniques in order to get back into using telepathy. So setting pure intentions for communication by thought energy. And I love the way that they offered some advice of how to do this. One of the techniques I believe they described was thinking of a person that you wish to communicate with. And I believe it doesn't matter whether they're in spirit, whether they're living in this world, on the earth plane there, but you see their image in your mind's eye, hold that image, focus in on that image, and then feel into the vibration of that person using your heart, and connect the two together and hold that space and hold that link. Once you have that link, then it was interesting how they said, whatever it is you're wanting to communicate, put those thoughts out, focus in on those thoughts, and let them go out into the ether. Let them be delivered to that person. Again, whether they're in the world of spirit or whether they're on the earth plane, send it and feel that sense of relief and lightness upon exchanging that information and giving it to them. And then it's a case of just relaxing into it and then being observant of the thoughts that are coming and the feelings into your vibration after you've sent that communication. Because potentially this is a form of a message back, an information back. So it pays you not to hang on to nonsense in your mind, and it pays you to be the third party individual, to police the mind in order to understand, and also your feelings and emotions, what information is coming back to you. So I found that absolutely staggering to hear that. And also the way that they mentioned how our spirit guides, our friends and family in the world of spirit, use this technology through telepathy, through the mind, through vibration, to already communicate with us. A lot of them use songs, and they place songs in our mind or memories in our mind, and we may be thinking of them very intently, and that's because they're sending that thought vibration into us at that moment in time. So what a fantastic communication there from that particular communicator. So now we're going to move into the next segment of the show, which is a sneaky peek into this week's forecast reading. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hello, my name is Glenn Boddice and I'm a spiritual medium, and welcome to this week's forecast reading for Monday, the 3rd of November 2025. Now, those of you that watched me work before will know that I connect with my spirit guides and helpers, and also connect with the Angel Tarot cards. So what I'm about to do is shuffle the pack and allow a card to come out for this week's forecast reading. So here is your card for this reading. I'm now going to link into the vibration of it. First of all, I'm being told that this week you need to be prepared, you need to be ready. You feel a sinking feeling in your gut, and you just get the feeling that something's not quite right with your surroundings and your atmosphere. There's something quite off with the energies, and you're picking up on that ahead of time. I've also got to say that there's a need for you to actually buckle down where it comes to finances. You need to be tightening your belt a little bit more than perhaps you have been doing in the past. And I feel as though you need to be saying yes and no, making priorities with your finances. Although it will be frustrating at the time, it will be to your advantage in the long term. So make sure you're taking charge of that. I've also got to say that there's going to be a lot of people around you that will be losing their head. In other words, they'll be in their thoughts, they'll be manipulated by their thoughts, and they'll just be feeling a little bit of frustration and not knowing which way to turn. You're being encouraged to actually, this is the end of the free version of the weekly forecast reading. If you would like to see the entirety of this week's forecast reading, then you can do that by subscribing. And as a subscriber, what you will receive is the full version of the weekly forecast reading. You will also receive the audio for the weekly radio show, and also you'll receive 10% off all of my spiritual services there. So this includes all of the readings there for you to benefit from. And also you will receive new updates and information and news of what's happening with myself and the services that I provide, and also the events that I take part in. You'll hear all about that ahead of everybody else. And this is because you're a subscriber to Glenn Boddice Spiritual Medium. So you can find a link either above or below this video, where by clicking on the link, you can then become a subscriber to reap all of the benefits that I've described to you. So I look forward to having you on this journey with me as a Glenn Boddice Spiritual Medium subscriber. Thank you for taking time to watch this video and supporting the work that Spirit and myself work together in doing so. Well, albeit a sneaky peek, it sounds fascinating, doesn't it? And again, like the advert says, just a reminder, if you're wanting to hear the full version of that, then you can become a subscriber by going over to my website or clicking in the links above or below this very audio. So I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode as much as my spirit guides and myself have, bringing it forward to you and sharing those wisdoms. Again, just to remind you, don't just rush out there. Don't think that, yes, I'm going to let somebody speak through me. Obviously, I'm referring to trance. It takes a great deal of practice and trust, and you have to build and earn that over a period of time. Just to let you know, if you are interested in trance mediumship and taking your sensitivity, your mediumship to the next level, I do run trance mediumship classes twice a month, and this operates over Zoom for the cost of £10 per person for 2 hours, and you'll learn that discipline. You'll get to go into trance as well and experience it, and you'll do it in a safe, professional online environment. So if you're interested in that, then please do get in touch with me by either going over to my website, www.glennboddicespiritualmedium.com, or you can email me at glennboddice@live.co.uk. It would be amazing to hear from you and to help you on your journey moving forward. Incidentally as well, if you have any questions you'd like to pose to the show and get Spirit's take on those questions, or you'd like us to build an episode around your question, then again, please do get in touch with me, either, as I've said, my website, or you can email me on the address that I've just provided there. So whatever it is you're up to this week, I would like you to be gentle with yourself, be kind, be loving, and allow yourself some space, some time to reflect, to analyze, and feel into the vibrations of where you are at in your present moment consciousness, because we're all forever changing in every single second of every single day. So what felt good to you 2 days ago, you're not that person anymore. So I want to encourage you to trust, feel into the situation, be present. Anyway, I look forward to your company next week at 4 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time on all of my social media platforms and my website with this very show, From Beyond with Glenn Boddice. God bless everybody. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to From Beyond. For more information, about what products and services Glenn provides, go to glennbodicespiritualmedium.com.